Hi, this is Megan with Beadaholique, and today I'm going to show you how to bead weave a basic beaded bezel onto a Swarovski Rivoli. And this is an embellished beaded bezel on this necklace here, and I'm going to show you how to embellish your bezel in another video. But in this video, we're going to learn how to do just the basic bezel so that you can use to mount your Rivoli. What you're going to need is a Rivoli. I'm using a 16 millimeter Swarovski crystal Rivoli, and just crystal. It's pretty the way that it picks up the colors of the beads, the plain crystal color. And then you're going to need seed beads in two different sizes. I'm using 11/0s and 15/0s, and I'm using two colors of the smaller size. Then you're going to need some beading thread. I'm using FireLine in the 0.006 inch size, and I'm using a size 12 beading needle. And then you'll need a pair of scissors, and a thread zap is really handy for cutting your thread. So go ahead and start by threading your needle with a length of the FireLine, about as much as you can deal with comfortably. I like to work with about 6 feet at a time. Now what we're going to do to start the bezel is we're going to do this in a even count tubular peyote stitch. You'll need as many of the larger beads around as it takes to fit around your Rivoli. So for the 16 millimeter and the size 11/0 Toho seed beads, it's 36 beads around, but you can experiment if you're using a different size. So go ahead and put 36 beads on your needle. Okay, so put on 36 beads and pull down to the end. And you want to leave yourself a 6 to 8 inch tail so that you can go back and weave your thread in later. Now you're going to go back through your first bead and make a little loop. And you can see that the loop, when you tighten it, should be about the right size to lay your Rivoli right inside. And now we're going to do this is actually rows 1 and 2, the way that it works with a tubular peyote stitch. It'll get offset when you weave in, so we're going to start row 3 by getting one bead, skipping the next bead on the string and going into the third. And then go ahead and pop that up. It will lay flat if you let it, so you want to go ahead and start making it more like a tube. And you're just going to work the whole row by picking up a bead, skipping the next bead, and going through the one after it. And when you get ready to put in the last bead, you'll go ahead and go in and up also through the next bead. And that will take you up to do the next row. So you can tighten this up a little bit to make sure everything's laying in a nice flat tube. Once you get it on the Rivoli, it will also be easier to tighten it up. So now you have 3 rows of the tubular peyote with the 11/0, and now we're going to do 2 rows with the 15/0, and it's going to be smaller because of the smaller size. It's going to pull it in a little bit. So you're going to do exactly the same thing, but you're going to put a 15-0 bead in between each of the beads from the last row. And again, on that last bead, you'll go through 2 to come up into the next row. And now that you have the row of smaller beads, you can see when you pull that tight, it's going to start to create a little bit of a lip. And then you're going to do one more row of the size 15-0 beads on this side to help bring that in a little bit further to give the back of your bezel a nice, strong foundation. And on this row, when you put your last bead in, instead of going back up to make another row that way, we're going to work to the other side so that we can make a row on the other edge. So go ahead and go through the next bead and then go right in a line diagonally to come out through one of the beads that's in the first row there. And pull nice and tight. Go ahead and push in your rows of 15-0 beads and pull tight. Okay, at this point we're going to set our Rivoli into our bezel. And the shape will stay nicer once we're all done with the rest too. So if it wiggles around a little bit, don't worry about it too much at this point. Just make sure that your stitches are tight. You can go through and tighten them up. Now we're going to do a row of 15-0s on this side, and make sure that you hold your Rivoli in place as you work. And keep your tail out of your way too, so it doesn't get tangled up in there. So you're going to do 2 rows of the 15-0s on this side, just like you did on the other side, and pull them nice and tight. And when you're done with your 2 rows of 15-0s, you go right up into the next row and pull that really tight. Just be gentle so you don't snap your thread. And pull your tail tight. And then you can kind of get it evened out a little bit. And then you're just going to go through and add 1 more row of 15-0s to the front. Will help secure it, and it adds a really pretty decorative touch. And you go back through for the last bead and pull that nice and snug. And then you're just going to tie off your threads and weave in the ends. We have a video on how to do that if you're not sure how to do that. And that is your basic beaded bezel. And you can bead weave onto that to embellish it. I'm going to do another video that shows you how to do an embellishment like this with this kind of starburst decoration, or you can leave it plain, but it's a really pretty way to connect your rivolis together or onto a piece of jewelry.